What's up, guys? Welcome back to Newswave. So one of the most frustrating parts of the Nintendo Switch is obviously those drifting Joy-Con controllers where randomly your character will just start running off to one side of the screen for seemingly no reason. Well, it looks like a redesigned Joy-Con patent is starting to make the rounds after it was approved the other day, and we're going to go over that here today. Also, we're going to be talking about a patent on Sony's side that's making people wonder if Sony is looking more into backwards compatibility on the PlayStation 5, especially with those rumors going around right now of the PSP, the PS Vita, and the PS3 stores being shut down. Oh, and it also looks like Microsoft could be lifting the Xbox Live Gold requirement for free-to-play games pretty soon. Guys, if you enjoy these videos, make sure that like button helps out a ton. And if you're new to the small channel, make sure you subscribe down below. And we're going to start today with a game that is kind of flying under the radar right now. We just talked about Monster Hunter Rise and the review scores that got. That's, of course, coming out this Friday. But there's another game coming out this Friday that ended up getting some pretty good review scores yesterday when the embargo lifted, and that's It Takes Two. We can head over here to Metacritic, where it's currently sitting at a 90, and it right now has 23 positive reviews, 0 mixed, and 0 negative, with a lot of these reviews saying it's one of the best co-op experiences they've ever seen, with some awesome moments even throughout the story and a very unique look. And when we first saw it, yes, it was a unique look, but they showed several different locations and different environments that were very unique as they went through. And the concept is kind of similar to A Way Out, where it's basically you and another person going through solving puzzles and doing different things. But what I really like about this is that they lean heavily into the co-op aspect, which is something that we've gotten further and further away from, especially split screen co-op over the last generation or so. In fact, if you do pick this game up, it comes with like a friend pass where they don't have to own the game and they can just play over the internet with you on your console. It's not cross-platform. It is cross-gen, however, but either way, a really cool-looking game here. It got great reviews. Could end up being one of the sleeper hits of the year, but it's out this Friday, and you should definitely be checking it out. That's Joseph Ferris's game, and he's one of the biggest fans of the Oscars that I know. Also, another game coming out next week is Disco Elysium Final Cut. That's going to be heading to consoles, which means it will have to go through the ratings boards, and it turns out it was refused classification in Australia. We can see that here, where it goes through the full reason for refused classification. However, the biggest thing they seem to focus on out of all of it is the overall drug use. And this isn't new for Australia. In fact, if we take a look at like Rock, Paper, Shotgun, they say the Australian Classification Board tend to hold issue with games depicting any sort of drug use. They made Fallout 3 rename real life drugs to fake ones, and Life is Strange 2 was removed from digital stores in Australia after an episode with drug use came out in 2018. They also banned We Happy Few from being sold in the country. So looking at this, the creators of Disco Elysium would probably have to make some serious changes, but I don't think they are that interested in doing so. So most likely this is going to be a game that I guess you could still play on PC, because I don't know if it has to go through the same ratings process if it releases on like Steam or something in Australia. That might be the only place to really play it then, unless they really do go through and start cutting a lot of stuff out. Oh, and we like to make a bunch of predictions around the different Smash Brothers characters that could be revealed, and there's only a couple left now. But what about Ryu Hayabusa? That's one that's come up a couple of times in these predictions videos. Well, let's take a look here. This is from Nebelian, who kind of went over an interview here. This is with Team Ninja's Fumihiko Yasuda, who explained to Famitsu that they chose the Sigma versions of Ninja Gaiden because apparently both Ninja Gaiden 2 and Ninja Gaiden Black data were not salvageable. That's kind of a shame, actually. And he also expressed his interest in doing a sequel. Yes, we should get more Ninja Gaiden, absolutely. We'll see how the Master Collection does here, but always up for a new Ninja Gaiden game. But to go a little further there, he also seems to be aware of Super Smash Bros. Fans bringing up Ryu Hayabusa as a potential fighter of the game. And Yasuda says, I'm waiting for an invitation. That's what we need, though. We need more sword fighters in Smash. People have made that very clear. Now, I think Ryu Hayabusa, just because obviously Ninja Gaiden, the long history of that, it'd be cool to see him in Smash Brothers. But let me know if that is a character you've been hoping gets in. And guys, with some of the quick news out of the way, let's get into the bigger stuff. Let's start right away with these new Joy-Con controller revisions that are starting to make the rounds through some patent images, and we can see some of the images here. And you know what? I'm looking at this. This looks very familiar to me. You know what? I think I've actually covered these before, and I have, actually. I think it was like a year or two ago. This would have been in 2019. 2018. Either way, though, we'll take a quick look at these. We do have a D-pad at the top there, what appears to be not necessarily the full joystick, but almost like the circle pad from the 3DS, and a couple of buttons there at the bottom, along with the standard sync button, and then kind of the shoulder-style buttons on the rails there. We still have the same number of shoulder buttons at the top, and looking at it, for the most part, it appears that they are just changing some things out, like the 4 buttons on the bottom, with like a D-pad, and they've moved that to the top and just changed out the entire Joy-Con joystick with, I guess, just the model from the 3DS or a revised model from that. This was recently approved, actually. Beginning of this month, the patent itself was approved to Nintendo, so that it's under, I guess, their ownership, but it doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to do anything with this. In fact, I'm looking at this, and I have no idea how this would work with what they ended up coming up with for the Switch. In fact, this is part of a couple of different ideas. We could take a look at Let's Go Digital. They had like the really large Joy-Con controllers, and this was in a video that we had talked about here on this channel. Remember, that also had like the hinged Joy-Con controller that was very weird. You could like move the top of the Joy-Con down on like this hinge in the middle, and I guess that would help for better grip or something. I'm not really sure. To me, this looks like a Joy-Con idea that they had, that they put through the patent process even before the Switch came out, apparently, as there is like a whole history of filings and all of this. So I don't really look at this as what they would do with the Joy-Con, and also, I don't know if they really will change the Joy-Con controller, at least not until next generation. I mean, trust me, I would like for them to do that, because I think there is a ton of stuff they could improve in that Joy-Con controller. Some people have said, oh, if they do that, then they'll be admitting they're wrong and they will immediately lose the class action lawsuit. I don't believe that, because they could, of course, do marketing and brand it differently. It could be the Nintendo Switch Joy-Con Pro. They can play around with the marketing and the way it looks, and hopefully that joystick. Unfortunately, though, looking at this, I don't think this is any indication that we are getting a revised Joy-Con controller anytime soon. In fact, I have a feeling it's going to be the same Joy-Con controllers we're using right now, packaged in with that Switch revision that's being anticipated and rumored currently. Next up, let's talk about Sony's patent, because this got a lot of people talking online, and once again I looked at it and said, I've seen this before. So here we go, we'll take a look at this one. This is a patent that appears to have popped up with an application date of November 30th, 2020, and a publication date of March 18th, 2021. So obviously this was like last week, and I think this popped up for a lot of people, and they're wondering, wait a minute, does this mean that they're going to work to kind of do more emulation and are figuring out ways to award trophies through that emulation? I mean, technically, yes, it's a method and apparatus for awarding trophies, and we can see start, perform, emulation. It goes through all of this, basically a different way to trigger something like a trophy popping up for what you have done in the game. But this is a patent that they've actually already done before, something through emulation, because there are games that you would be playing on your PS5, even through PlayStation Now, like PS2 games or even PS4 games, PS3 games, through streaming, that you would earn trophies in all of this. And they've done a patent like that. I think it was back in like 2013. It actually is the same looking image even, that shows them triggering the trophy notification through methods of emulation and just being able to recognize when they have to give you that trophy. And unfortunately, people are looking at this saying, wow, that might mean that Sony is going to go back, get the PSP, the PS Vita, and the PS3 games and get them all working on the PS5. And I would like, a timeline where that happens, but it's probably not going to happen if Jim Ryan is in charge on PlayStation's side here, and he just doesn't see a lot of value in going back and getting those games working on the PlayStation 5. It's completely different, obviously, with Microsoft, where they have made a massive push for having full backwards compatibility with some of these different titles that they bring up, and I'd like to see them continue to do that. But Sony, I don't think they will. I think they probably will shut down the PS3 store, the PS Vita store, and the PSP store, and that'll kind of be that. But this patent, once again, like we just talked about the Joy-Con one, doesn't really mean a whole lot. So basically today I've just been out here just ruining dreams. Next up, let's talk about Xbox Live Gold. Now, for free-to-play games like Fortnite, you don't need a subscription service for Nintendo or Sony, that being PlayStation Plus or Nintendo Online. If you just load up the game, it'll work without that $20 or $60 per year fee. But on Microsoft's side, Xbox Live Gold has actually been required, which is something that's been criticized quite a bit. That, however, is coming down. If you remember, with the Xbox Live debacle where they tried to double the price on us, they pulled that back real quick later on that night, and they said, oh, and we're also going to drop the Xbox Live Gold requirement for these free-to-play titles. It looks like that could be actually happening pretty soon. Let's head over here to The Verge, where they say Microsoft is announcing today that Xbox Party Chat will be free for Xbox owners soon. The software maker has started testing a new Xbox dashboard update with testers today that unlocks Xbox Party Chat, multiplayer in free-to-play games, and the Looking for Groups LFG feature. We can see Brad tweets out, Xbox insiders in alpha skip ahead. In alpha today, we are flighting some new features. Multiplayer and free-to-play games, Looking for Groups, and Party Chat on Xbox no longer requires Xbox Live Gold membership as we flight and test these service changes ahead of general availability. So this is really cool because Party Chat was also something that was behind Xbox Live Gold, as well as Looking for Groups and all of this. So that's not something that Microsoft said they were going to make free alongside of these free-to-play titles and getting past Xbox Live Gold for that. So maybe they're going a bit further with this. I just because of the backlash they saw with the Xbox Live price hike they attempted to do. But I do also think after we heard that Xbox Live was becoming Xbox Network, they're also trying to move things around and figure out where this whole online subscription thing should be for them, as they really want us all to sign up for Game Pass, even beyond like Xbox Live Gold. I think if they could get everyone from Xbox Live Gold on the Game Pass, Xbox Live Gold will go away tomorrow. I don't think that's a question. So we'll see how this all works out when it goes live for everyone, but the fact that they are testing it now means that it honestly could be in a week or two at this point. And in our last bit of news, let's talk about a PlayStation 4 error that was coming up online the other day. And as we've been talking about, game preservation is something you'll want to keep in mind years and years from now with your PS4. Let's head over here to Twitter, where we see Does It Play says, everyone worrying about a non-existent de novo problem when what they should be worrying about is error CE34878-0. When the PS4 CMOS battery dies, and it will, it renders all PS4 digital files unusable without a server reconnection, and in PS4 it also kills disk playback. Lance McDonald quote tweeted this and explained it a bit further, saying, this error is because trophies on PS4 require the internal system clock, the one you can't see or alter, to be correct, so people can't change their PS4 date/time to make it look like they got trophies earlier than they really did. If your PS4 clock battery dies, all your games die. And what you would have to do then is plug it in and get it connected to the internet so it can call to the server, and the server will then reset the internal clock as long as you keep it plugged in. I guess the one thing here is changing out that battery isn't actually that hard. You do have to break it down to the motherboard, and for some people, they probably don't want to go that far, but it is a widely accepted battery, so like you can go on eBay and pick them up very easily, a bunch of them, and it's like the little disc-shaped battery that you would just pop in. But it's interesting that one battery dying on your PS4, if you have no connection to the internet, could make it so the disc playback doesn't work, your digital games don't work, basically nothing works then, because it's tied also to the trophies for the games and the discs, I guess, too. Interesting stuff there. I guess just make sure you have some of those batteries on hand just in case it happens to die like 10 years from now. And before we go to the comment of the day, we're going to take a look at the poll that I posted up yesterday, where I asked, if this new Nintendo Switch is a solid upgrade to the current Switch, would you pay $400 for it? 68% of you said yes. If it is an actual upgrade, $400 is fair, whereas 32% of you said no, $400 is too much for Nintendo to charge. And this could be a serious discussion that comes up if Nintendo really does announce it as $400 and it's not this big upgrade that a lot of people are hoping for. If it is a very small upgrade and Nintendo says $400, a lot of people are going to say, I don't know, it doesn't feel worth it. But keep in mind, a lot of people will probably still rush out and buy it because over the last year, people have been paying $400 for a Switch anyway. I'm just hoping that if Nintendo does push it to $400, that extra like price leeway of $100 from the base Switch means they can do some pretty cool upgrades. We've already talked about the OLED screen. That is an upgrade. And hopefully a better chip that will give us better frame rates, more consistent frame rates. And hey, if they can do an upscaled 4K, I would consider that a solid upgrade for $400. And we'll finish up with the comment of the day as you're seeing here. This is from Little Joe saying, I'm not going to talk about the Switch Pro. Right, I didn't talk about the Switch Pro. I talked about the new Nintendo Switch. But if the new Nintendo Switch gets boring, we can go to the Switch Plus, we can go to the Super Nintendo Switch, we can go to the Switch XL, or one of my favorites, we can go to the Nintendo Switch. That's just the Switch with the Wii logo in the middle. There's throw an extra eye, take advantage of that Wii branding that got so many people interested in Nintendo. Or hey, if it is something out of left field like a home console, we can go with the Nintendo Stay Put. I mean, that one's free, Nintendo. And ladies and gentlemen, that's gonna do it here for Newswave. If you enjoyed this video, guys, hit that like button, it really helps out. If not, hit the dislike. Leave comments down below about everything we talked about here today. Whether there's the Nintendo Switch Joy-Con controller, people talk about it a lot because of the drifting issues, but do you think Nintendo will redesign it, make a big deal out of it, or do you think they might actually do a redesign and be very quiet about it, like a silent revision of that Joy-Con, or just not at all? Let me know about that down below. And then what about the PlayStation 5 and its backwards compatibility? If we do lose access to the PSP, the Vita, and the PlayStation 3 store all at once, do you think Sony will do anything when it comes to backwards compatibility for those systems? Thanks guys for watching, and I'll see you next time.